Yeah, hi everybody, we're back for the second part of this little thing, this little video on the Roman Catholic Church and the scandal involving these priests in the Dublin diocesan area, okay? And I just want to read very briefly from this newspaper. I'm sorry I can't scan, it's too big, but anyway, it's an exclusive report. It's this report, and it's by a fellow called Liam Collins. It's an analysis of the report, okay? And it just comments on the four archbishops and cardinals that were involved, okay, and headed up this diocesan area. And the first one we have is John Charles McQuaid, the famous John Charles McQuaid, and there's a photograph of him here, and it says he was obsessively concerned with the avoidance of scandal, and he showed no concern for the welfare of children. And then we go on to a fellow called Archbishop Dermot Ryan. He exhibited a disastrous lack of coordination in response to the problem. Archbishop Kevin McNamara then says he saw a need for the archdiocese to obtain insurance against claims. And then we go on to Cardinal Desmond Connell, stunned by the extent of clerical sex abuse, and although appalled at what was going on, he was slow to recognise the seriousness of the situation and too reliant on advice from medical and legal experts. In other words, they were only concerned about one thing: what it was going to cost the Roman Catholic Church. They didn't give a flying shit about the children, the welfare or the well-being of those children. They were going to argue to the fucking pin of their collar over what it was going to cost the church. They were taking out insurance indemnities so they wouldn't have to pay the full amount out. They got the government then in under Bertie Ahern, the asshole Bertie Ahern who ran our country for 11 years and crashed it into the economic iceberg. They had him in and pulled him over the coals, and we effectively as a people underwrote their shame. The satanic material that they got up to with these children, we underwrote it. These people, if it wasn't so serious, you'd go into the laughing room for a half an hour. These are princes of the church who live in palaces, and all they're concerned about is the economic well-being of the church. That's all they're concerned about. They don't give a flying shit about the children or the morality or the ethics of anything. They don't give a flying shit about anything except the fact that they're going to have duck for their dinner tonight. That's all they're concerned. And the fact that they can, as I say, be driven round and the good and the mighty can kiss their hand and other parts of their anatomy. Anyway, I just want to very quickly draw a small analogy. Let's say tomorrow morning it turned out that we had a fire service, and the fire service had been in existence from the beginning of the state, and the fire service, it turned out, was a massive expose. It turned out the people who were in the fire service, the men and the women who were on the front line, the fire men and fire women, instead of putting out fires, they were lighting fires. Large numbers of them were lighting fires. And in lighting the fires, they damaged tens of thousands of Irish children, all members, a lot of them living here in Ireland, and a lot of them in the diaspora all over the world, of Irish people all over the world. And they physically scarred them and mentally scarred them, and loads of these people took their own lives as a result of their involvement in these disastrous fires that these firemen and firewomen had set. But that wasn't the only sin. The great sin was that the officer corps of the fire service, the captains and the commanders and the upper elite, the administrators of the fire service, they knew all about it. They knew all about it for 50 years, 60 years. They did nothing about it. They never went to the police and reported the matter. They hid the matter and moved these firemen and firewomen who were setting these fires, moved them all around the place so they could do it more. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen? Well, I tell you what should happen. In a mature republic, say somewhere like France, I tell you what would happen. There would be mayhem on the streets. The whole fire service would have to be stood down. And there would be a major state investigation into the matter. I mean, a major one. And what would happen is the officer corps of the fire service would all be in a pokey until the matter was sorted out. That's what would happen in a real republic. What would probably happen in Ireland is they'll all probably get medals. Yeah, and there would be articles singing their praises in the newspapers and on the media, telling us how brave they all are. That's probably what happened. We truly live in an extraordinary world. Anyway, the final part I want to address about all this is, I just want to address really what went on and what it was all about. These children were used as basically economic slaves in many cases by these orders, and the ones that were suffered the most were all from one socio-economic and political grouping. They were all from the working class, unemployed classes, and the dysfunctional classes. They were all of these children, both boys and girls, were subjected to this horror. It was just like the Nazis in the 30s and the 40s in the labour camps. Their victims were all chosen. Their victims were all Jewish children, were all dysfunctional children, gypsy children, etc., etc. We're all from the lumpen proletariat, the lumpen element of society, disenfranchised elements of society, and that's what happens here. This was from the working class down. This was a class war. It was our Cold War. These boys viewed themselves as being some sort of cohorts for modern day capitalism. That's what they saw themselves as. Because the radical ideas, left-wing ideas, only came from one class. Didn't come from the middle class. None of these children that were abused were from middle class backgrounds. None of these children that were abused came from the professional classes. None of these children came from, certainly not the establishment classes. No, they were only from working class down. And it was all tolerated because it was from that class came all the radical ideas, the left-wing ideas, the agitational ideas. And that's what happened. Their masters turned a blind eye to it because they were conducting their little Cold War. This was our contribution to the big war outside. We were going to suppress the working class and its acolytes and the dysfunctional classes and the rest of them, the underclasses, the underbelly of society. Because all they wanted was, they challenged the establishment. Their very existence, the notion of them actually breathing air and walking and eating 3 meals a day actually challenged the establishment. They were to be stomped out. And that's what these brothers, so-called brothers and so-called priests and so-called nuns did in the orders and the establishments that they ran. And until we address these problems, as I said in the first little snip, until we come to terms with this and we hold our hands up and say this was a fucking abomination and this should never be repeated, and the people who were involved in this have to go to the pokey. But as I said in the first one, you can bet your bottom dollar there'll be no bishops, no monsignors, no canons, no archbishops, no cardinals. Nobody in the officer corps of the Roman Catholic Church will ever see the inside of a Pokey Joe. Of that you can bet your bottom fucking dollar.